Good afternoon. I'll introduce you very shortly into DIAMEE Project. DIAMEE means Dialogical Methodologies for Entrepreneurs. DIAMEE is continuation of successful DIALEE project. DIALEE means deep learning through dialogue. DIAMEE was international, including partners from 6 European countries. The goals of the project were to improve dialogical competence, train dialogical skills by certain methods, and to find out method applications into practice of entrepreneurship, education, training and coaching. Dialogical competence includes 4 areas: dialogic attitude, creating dialogical moments, making dialogue non-fussy, and creating an overall view, new understanding. The project participants trained themselves the methods, they piloted and tested them, and also evaluated the methods applying during the whole process. The partners developed method applications for practice in what kind of situations each dialogical method is useful in entrepreneurship education, training and coaching. The project lasted 2 years. It started 2013. The results or outcomes of the project are very positive and interesting. Now I'll give the turn to the participants of DIAMEE. They'll tell you what they learned in the project.
They say, I love it, but. Because if you have true love, you can have conditions, isn't it? Can you have in empathy condition? Can you have condition in equality, in respect? But in business, you cannot make any money if you don't have conditions.
The education system will have to change in the future. Maybe mentoring, shifting from the teaching to the learning, maybe. Forget the teaching, forget that the teacher is the center of information, but the teacher is just like a guide, like a man who stop talking and start listening. And that's a dialogue, as I understand.
It's one thing just to read what you already have heard somewhere like 6 months ago, and it's completely different to learn while asking and while being active and present at the place. And you cannot be active when you're just taking notes and when you just have exams at the end, and it doesn't lead to anything. It's completely different when you have the right to ask when something is not clear.
And one of the best deals I've done, I spoke less than 2 minutes in 3 hours conversation, and at the end the person said, "You are the best consultant I've ever met. You perfectly understand my business." I was only moving my head, telling about, this is actively listening, and also putting some questions just to clear it up to me. But that was the initial before signing the contract. So the guy was so talkative, and he just wanted somebody to understand his own opinion about the business, and I really hard tried to understand where his problem might be, why he asks me. And that was a very humble and teaching experience for me, because I used to speak a lot. And from that moment on business meetings, I do not speak, I listen.
So internally we used it, we spoke about it at our meetings, at our senior management meetings. We used it ourselves in our classrooms. I changed my teaching practice as a result of participating in this project. And considering I'm teaching communications, which is like English, it was very, very effective. But Siobhan and my colleagues who might not have been teaching communications but more practical skills courses also adopted and improved upon their teaching methodologies.
Well, my default setting is to be monological, as you probably have guessed by me talking here. And so I have to try and remember in a class setting to be dialogical and to keep practicing the methods, not to go back to my default setting of talking all the time. So that's a great challenge for me. One of the areas, I know it's not particularly relevant to entrepreneurs, but is in your personal life. I find the methods very, very useful in your personal life. It's not something I feel, the dialogical methods, they're not something that should be switched on and switched off. They should be all embracing in all areas of life.
We should consider this the beginning of a new thing for us. So it's the end of the project, but the beginning of new opportunities for all of us.